For this session in the book of Romans, we are ready for chapter 7, verses 7 through 25. What we have already seen in the first two chapters is that God's judgment is upon the entire world, Gentile and Jew alike, and all are found to be under the just judgment of God, and judged to the sense that we have no means of making ourselves acceptable to God, nor any means of obtaining a salvation with anything that we can do ourselves. However, God says, I have the solution for you, and you can be saved or justified, legally and judicially declared right or righteous, simply by faith in Christ Jesus. Then in chapter 4, he illustrates that salvation by faith by Abraham's justification. He simply believed God, and it was counted to him for righteousness. And if we believe God, we shall be counted righteous also. Then in chapter 5, the first 11 verses, he says that all of this was made possible by the person and the work of Jesus Christ. Then in the latter half of chapter 5, he says it was made necessary by the sin which we all committed in Adam. Now, having been justified, he says we have a new life and a new liberty, as we have already seen in 6:1 through 7:6. Now, in the remainder of chapter 7, we want to see that we also have a new understanding. Not only a new life and a new liberty, but in this justification we have a new understanding as well, and we have a new understanding concerning the law, and we have a new understanding concerning sin. Now, notice with me as we begin in verse 7 of chapter 7. Now, up above he has stated that we should serve in newness of spirit and not in the oldness of the letter, that is, in the letter of the law. So he says in verse 7, what shall we say then? What are we going to say in reference to that? Is the law sin? God forbid. By no means. Perish such a thought. Never. Nay, no, it's not sin. I had not known sin, but by means of or through the law. Now, how is that true? Because the law says, thou shalt not do this or that or the other. And remember, we've already seen in chapter 5 that when there was no law, there was no sin, because if there's no law to break, you have no transgression. And so he says, by the law I came to know what sin was. For I had not known lust, or that is, I had not known covetousness, or inordinate affection, or sinful desires, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. You shall not covet these things, nor have these longing nor desires for these things. Now he said, the law said I should not do that, and therefore when I do it, then I know that I have sinned. But the sin, that is, that sin nature, taking occasion, or having taken occasion, by means of or through the commandment, that is, the commandment which was given of various things, wrought in me all manner of concupiscence, or all manner of covetousness, or inordinate desires, or passions of the flesh and the mind. So that old nature that's within us brought about all kinds of passions and desires and lustful cravings. For without or apart from the law, sin was dead. Sin was inoperative or inactive. We've already seen that before too. That if there was no law, then there was no sin to be counted to the charge. The word dead here is nekra, which means inoperative or inactive. So he says, apart from the law, sin was inoperative or inactive upon us, not counted to our charge. For I was alive without or apart from law once. At one time I was alive apart from any law, but when the commandment came, or the commandment having come, it's an aorist participle, the commandment having come, sin revived, and I died. I was separated. And the commandment, that commandment of God, which was ordained to or unto life, or literally this, I found to be unto death. Now it showed me my sinful state and my death and separation from God. For these sin, that is, that sin nature that we have through Adam, having taken occasion, by means of or through the commandment, deceived me, and by means of or through it, slew me. So the old sin nature is our real problem, and it is adverse to the law of God. So therefore, he says in verse 12, the law is holy.